Is your tyre pressure gauge lying to you? I'm going to find out whether it is and tell you why that's really important. So I've come to this beautiful location, this tropical island, because I just wanted a bit of sun. Weather's been miserable recently. This is going to look so stupid if I haven't done the green screen with the palm trees, but hey, we'll soldier on. Why am I doing this little experiment? Tyre pressure is very, very important to fat bikes. They're run at a low PSI, as you know if you're watching this show. And there have been lots of forums recently where people have been giving great advice about, hey, I run mine at 11 PSI, and someone else saying, oh, I always favour, and it's between 7 and 8 for me, and someone saying, oh, the sweet spot's 9. Now, that's great advice, as long as you know exactly what the tyre pressure is. Because if you don't, and it's not accurate, then all of that advice is completely irrelevant. So I thought I'd do a little experiment. Most people will have a track pump. You might have a digital tyre gauge, or you might have invested in this, which is a low pressure tyre gauge. It only goes up to 30 PSI and is specifically designed to give you an accurate reading when you're looking at low PSI pressure. So let's start with the track pump. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump this tyre, it might be there already, to 10 PSI, only because I like round numbers. So, okay, what have we got? Okay, we've got, actually that's exactly 10 PSI. Well, it's as exact as I can make it using a track pump, which has a fairly rudimentary system. I mean, this goes up to 160 PSI, so it's not going to be easy to see fine detail, but that's fine. So that is our tyre, as far as I'm aware, using my track pump, is 10 PSI. Right, let's try a digital tyre pressure gauge. I've got this slightly bigger one out simply because it should be easier to read. I'm just going to put on a tiny adapter. We're not going to lose any air because it fits to a Schrader, not a Presta valve. Right, 0 reading. 10 PSI on that becomes, and there we go, 8.5 PSI. That's a big difference. That's a difference in the advice somewhat. In fact, actually, do you know what? It's gone down to 8 PSI. So from 10 to 8 PSI. Now, that's 20% difference. You might not think it's a big deal, but when you think of it's a 20% change in what you thought your tyre pressure was set at to what it's actually set at. And that's between a track pump and a digital tyre pressure gauge. Now, let's take that adapter off. Let's use this one. This is specifically for low PSI. So this should, without any question, be the most accurate out of the three. So we've inflated it to 10 PSI. What's it gonna be? Place your bets. I'll try and angle it so you can see it, but it only shows you the reading while it's actually attached. So let's have a look. We're 10 PSI, we are 6.5 PSI. So, 6.5 PSI, 8, 10. In percentage terms, that's huge. And why is it important? And why I think you should get one of these? If you are playing around with the PSI in your fat bike tyre and you're trying to get specific about what PSI works for you, you're listening to advice on the many wonderful forums about which pressure you should run. All of that is irrelevant if you don't have an accurate reading of your PSI. So I didn't think there'd be that much of a difference. Huge difference from the track pump, which most of us have. These aren't that cheap. I think this was about 30 pounds, GB pounds. But that shows if you're concerned about your tyre PSI, get one of these.